Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. My name is Rachel, in case this is your first time ever watching me, and this is another My Wattpad library. So basically, this is going to be the same format as my last one. I'm just going to take you on a tour of my Wattpad library, tell you what I basically read, what I'm currently reading, tell you what's up. So let's dive right in. The first books I'm going to talk about are in my archived library, so these are completed books on Wattpad. Alright, so these books are in no particular order, they're just kind of how they show up in my library. And the first one I have is called Stolen Jerseys by Wattpad author Brad McQuaid, and I'm sorry if I said their name wrong. So Stolen Jerseys is basically a hockey story, which I don't know much about hockey, and I never really read a hockey story before, so this was definitely a new element for me. It's about a girl named Elle and a boy named Scott, and Scott is pretty cocky. Elle is pretty not. Actually, I think Elle is pretty cocky. And how their paths intertwine. So the second book I have is The Boy Who Wore Boat Shoes by Wattpad author Sophie Anna. This book is about Eric Wilson. He was the star of his town. He was star quarterback. Basically perfect. He has everything you could want. But he was also struggling with an addiction that nobody knew about until one day he just kind of broke. And all of a sudden he went from being the town's perfect goody two-shoes to not so much. So Eric moves away from his hometown across the country to a new college, and he basically starts over. Nobody here knows him, nobody here knows his story, and he reinvents himself. He doesn't want to be that person anymore. And as most stories go, he meets a girl, and his whole world changes. So a little background before I talk about this story. When I started it, I did not know that it was a Justin Bieber fan fiction. And then by the time I found out, I was too deep into the story to back out. I needed to know what happened and how it ended and what was going on. So yes, this is a Justin Bieber fan fiction. No, I did not know it when I started, and no, I don't usually read fan fictions, and I don't like Justin Bieber that much. So this story is called Just Friends, and it is by Wattpad user Believe XOXO. It's about Raina and Justin, and I don't know if Raina is a real person or not. I know Justin Bieber is obviously a real person. Maybe Raina is too. So they're friends with benefits, and there's no feelings, there's no emotions. They just enjoy the company of each other. And then all of a sudden, maybe friends with benefits isn't enough anymore. Alright, so then we have the book Under the Influence by Wattpad user Pure Awesomeness 667. So this book is about a girl. Her name is Charlotte Crawford, and she is your everyday, but she does really well in school. She makes really good grades, she knows her way around a textbook. So Charlotte, she likes comic books, and she never gets into trouble. And then you have Hunter Green, who's basically her total opposite. If you saw my last Wattpad library, you know that I enjoy a good bad boy book, and that is Hunter Green. He is your typical Wattpad bad. So Charlotte is assigned to be Hunter's tutor, and their antics unfold from there. The next book in my library is called 1,000 Words, and it is by Wattpad author Trouble Hearts. So Reese Brenner is basically the world's pessimist, and Jessica Andrews is basically the world's optimist. They are complete opposites when it comes to life. Reese looks at life with this dull hatred, and Jessica looks at life through the lens of a camera, literally. I love that. I think that's so cute. Reese has an immediate hatred for Jessica the moment they meet because he assumes that she's been handed life on a silver platter. But you can't judge people by their surface. So just like a photograph, there's more to life than what you see on the outside, and when Reese discovers Jessica's hidden portfolio, he discovers that maybe there's more to life than what she's showing. And Reese is determined to find out her secret. So this next book is actually a series. I only read 2 books out of the series, but there are actually 4 books in the series. The first one that I read is called Lie Until You Laugh, and that is actually the first book in the series. So the series goes lie until you laugh, laugh until you cry until you bleed, and bleed until you heal. And this series was written by Writer Bug 44. So Lie Until You Laugh is about Sienna Mast. Sienna's a tough girl. She always has been. But everybody has a breaking point, and Sienna reaches hers living in her abusive household with her little sister and her mom and her abusive dad. Sienna runs away to seek help from her rich uncle, and the way that he helps her is that he tells her that she has to earn the money, and so she has to complete a dance school, and the winner gets a set amount of money. So Sienna's been dancing her whole life, and she doesn't think it'll be too hard for her to complete this task until she's enrolled with classmates that'll do anything to win, a super scary instructor, Penn the Petrifying, and a few other obstacles that she has to overcome. This book is also available in paperback on Lulu, and I will put the link in the description. So the next book in the series that I read was Cry Until You Bleed, which is also by Writer Bug 44. So this isn't your typical boy saves the girl type of story because nobody can save Anna Shaw. So Anna Shaw has been through a very traumatic experience in her life, and she's been in and out of mental hospitals trying to make her whole again. After multiple suicide attempts and a year of basically recovery, she finds herself back in another mental hospital. And she basically figures what's wrong with wanting to die. After everything she's been through, she doesn't understand why everyone around her wants to keep her alive. So Anna fights to find reasons to stay alive before it's too late. The next story in my Wattpad library is called Take Me Home, and it is by Wattpad author Blissum. This story is about a girl, her name is Vienna Dawson, and she manages to get left behind on a senior field trip. The bus just, whoop, takes off without her. So she realizes she has no money, a dead cell phone, and no way to get back home. So as she's wandering around, she stumbles across a guy from her childhood who isn't really having a good day either. He's just finished up a phone call, and he's basically crying on the sidewalk, but he's not really willing to talk about why. But the lucky part is he's heading where she's heading, and he's willing to give her a ride. The unlucky part is they have zero sense of direction, a broken GPS, incurable sense of insomnia, and heavy baggage. And that's not talking about the suitcases. So together they will encounter many obstacles, face many challenges, and try and find their way back home. Underdogs by Floats. Arden Hart didn't mean to push the school's quarterback Levi Jacobs down the stairs. It was a complete accident, but nobody believes her. Instead of getting sued and involving the court system, Arden is forced to drive Levi wherever he wants to go. That means taking him to practices, doctor's appointments, parties, wherever. Arden probably wouldn't mind if she and Levi didn't have a past and sexual tension. Lots of it. The next book I have is called The Trainer's Girl, and it is by Wattpad author Drakery, which I think is really cool because if his name is Drake, because then it's like Drakery. So, at 19 years of age, Drake Wilson finds himself having to go back to high school to obtain some classes that he didn't get the first time around. So this time he's determined to focus on school until he meets Nicole, and all of his walls come crumbling down. I don't know how I get myself involved in so many series. I just pick up a book, and then all of a sudden I'm like, bam, series. Alright, so this series is by Wattpad author Aggressively, and it starts with the book Troublemaker. So Winnie Indigo discovers that Brody Kaysen has dropped a little black book. And she picks it up to find that it is Brody's diary, and she has all of the power in her hand. This little black book. She can single-handedly take down Westview's most popular boy. But at her first attempt to blackmail Brody, she realizes that the more she stays with him, the more she's falling for him. So the second book in that series is Heartbreaker, also by the same author. Isaiah Glaher decides to take a virginity pledge one night. The only problem is that he is not a virgin. So him and his best friend Tyler both take this pledge to see who can outlast the other. The only problem is Isaiah meets a girl, and all of his walls come crumbling down. So although the third book is technically not complete, I'm going to go ahead and talk about it because it is part of this series and it makes sense to talk about it in order. So the third book is called Matchmaker, also by the same author. For Skylar Laher, getting stuck with the baseball team after school was not part of her plan, and neither was falling for the sexy, flirtatious captain that is totally off limits. So the next book that I have is called Pillow Talk, Love, and Other Things, and it is by Wattpad author M. Slow. Sorry if I said your name wrong. Sawyer Quinn suffers from insomnia, and the only thing that helps her fall asleep is someone that talks her to sleep. Jesse Armanio suffers from I don't pay attention in class, and the only thing that'll keep him from flunking out is someone willing to tutor him. Cue how they meet. Sawyer has to be pretty desperate to let a stranger crawl into her bed and talk her to sleep. But since she broke up with her boyfriend, she hasn't been getting much sleep. So when Jessie asks for a tutor in exchange for anything, she's more than willing to offer up her end of the deal. Jessie, on the other hand, would never turn down a night with a girl in bed. Well, maybe depending on the girl. But this girl just wants him to talk to her. But he can't say no if he wants to graduate high school. So this is going to get a little bit complicated. The last book I have in my archive library is called Fractured, and it is by Wattpad user ujelly_. So Fractured is the sequel to the book that I did in my last video, which was called The Boy at the Back of the Class. But it is now being rewritten, and it is now called Bulletproof. And it is no longer a completed book. So Bulletproof is the first book. Fractured is the second book. So Fractured takes place after Bulletproof. You have Tyler and Franny 7 years later, and a lot has changed. And I don't want to give too much away, so that's all I'm going to say. So the last book in my archive library is called Playboy Rehab. So recovering from a tough relationship, Leslie King has new priorities on her mind. She is the publicist for billionaire entrepreneur Garrett Harrison, and she has put all of her focus into work. That is until Sebastian comes along. Arrogant, selfish, and unbelievably gorgeous, Sebastian has no ambitions except to party until forever. After all, he is the son of Garrett Harrison and the heir to the empire. Who wouldn't want to date him? But what if Garrett decides that it is time for Sebastian to turn over a new leaf, to start taking on new responsibilities, and embrace his, heirism. So Leslie is given the task of turning Sebastian into someone worthy of taking over the company. And it only gets crazier from there. Playboy Rehab is being rewritten currently. You can go to the author's profile and you can either read the completed one or the rewritten one. As an author who has rewritten a book, I would definitely go for the rewrite, because usually when an author decides to rewrite a book, it's because she wasn't pleased with the first one. So Just my 2 cents. There's one more story in my archive library. It's the sequel to Playboy Rehab. It's called Two Can Play That Game by Ceaseless_Mind. I'm not going to say much, actually, because I don't want to give away anything from the first book, but it's just the sequel. So, read the first book, then jump on over and know that there's a sequel. Alright, and that is it for all of the completed books in my library. So now I'm going to go over and talk about the books that are still being written. I have a ton of books in my library, and if you know that like your book is in my library and I don't mention it, it is nothing personal. It is just one of two reasons. One, I either forgot it because of how many books I have in my library, or two, I just started it and I'm only like either a couple chapters in, probably just a couple chapters in, and I'm not comfortable talking about it yet because I don't have a good feel for it. So, yeah, it's really nothing personal. I keep a lot of books in my library because I just go through Wattpad and add them all the time. So the first story I have is called Puck You by Peyton Novak. I thought the title is just so cute, Puck You. It's a hockey book. Grace Gilman and Sebastian Evans have more in common than they think. Not only do they love to tear up the ice, but they also hate each other. They're also pretty humiliated by the attraction that they have towards each other. You're not supposed to have the hots for the person that you hate. Since tryouts, Sebastian has resented the fact that a girl made his team. Grace, on the other hand, can't stand the fact that her captain is a sexist womanizer. Can these two make it through hockey season without killing each other? So the second book I have is called Sleep Deprived, and it is by The Purple Rose. So if you ever read the Teddy Bear Agreement, this is the Teddy Bear Agreement being rewritten. Lizzie Hale is rarely ever not sleep deprived. She can't ever sleep at night, and her meager excuse for a teddy bear doesn't do much to help. William Anderson accepts a last-minute offer of an apartment to live with a girl. A girl. It's not like he expects to get laid or anything, but he's not complaining. But he definitely doesn't expect Elizabeth Hale, a girl that slowly starts to become interested in his past, a past that he's not quite willing to reveal, a past which brings constant nightmares that he keeps quiet by swallowing sleeping pills. So when a certain bear is accidentally donating and Lizzie stops Will from almost overdosing on sleeping pills, they decide it's time to change something in their lives. Hence, they come up with an agreement to start sleeping together. So if you remember earlier in the video I talked about the book that I read, Just Friends, and it's the Justin Bieber fanfic. Well, I'm also reading the sequel, which I forgot to say. Just Friends, the sequel. It's also by the same author, and it just follows the story from where it left off. I don't want to give anything away from the first story, so I'm not really going to dive into detail. The Bad Boy in Pajamas by Magic Tricks. Meet Carly Davidson, the new girl who is in for some trouble. And by trouble, that means a hot guy in Mickey Mouse pajamas. The next story I have is called Cruel Me by Fallen Baby Boo Boo. He breaks, he steals, he torments. Cruelty is his specialty. Some love him, some hate him. Most are scared of him. Oz Lacey gives the term bad boy a whole new meaning. Three Stepbrothers by Animal Lover 55. Tori lived with her dad and little sister. She never expected to have a stepmother, let alone a stepbrother, let alone 3 of them. Those 3 stepbrothers happen to be the 3 triplet sports stars of the school. What happens when the 4 are mixed together and told not to tell anyone that they're related? What happens when they have to learn how to live with each other? I mean, it's just 1 year, right? They're all headed off to college the next year. 1 hectic year of broken fights, sibling feuds, and crazy events. What is Tori gonna do? No Capes by Joe Cool 123. So before I start this, I just want to say that I picked up this book and I was like, I'm not really sure if this is my kind of book. But it's written by Joe Cool 123, so I'm gonna give it a try. And oh my gosh, I stayed up until 3 o'clock in the morning reading this book. And my brother was sitting next to me on the couch, and I was just like verbalizing all of my freakouts, and he was putting up with it because he puts up with it. And oh my gosh, just so this book basically takes place, and they're in a town where there are superheroes and supervillains, and basically the fight between good and evil. And the main character is a girl, and she's basically caught in the middle, and she has to determine what really is good and what really is evil, and where does it all connect. And it's crazy. My Record Store Romance by Elizabeth Rami. After an almost accident leaves Haley with no car, she's left with an ultimatum, and she has to pay off the damages. She's forced to get a job, and she ends up with a job at a dingy old record store with no customers ever. The person that she wishes she would never have to see again ends up being her co-worker. Can dingy records, a few rainy nights, and some arguments bring these two closer together? Or will it just be a summer fling, one that they wish they had never been involved in? Alright, well that is it for my Wattpad library today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave what you're currently reading in the comments. I love to see what you guys are up to. And I love book recommendations. Or if you guys have read any of these books and you want to talk about it, leave a comment. That's it for today. If you guys liked the video, be sure to click the like button and subscribe for more videos. Alright, bye. I don't even remember reading this book, but it sounds like a book I would read. I hate using that word. I don't like to give stereotypical names like that. That was a burp. Sienna is another burp.